Hey, we're Overbook Besties, and we're going to be talking about books, our thoughts on them, and probably a little Bravo if you're into that. So thanks for joining. I'm Alana.
And I'm Sin. We're starting with the Throne of Glass series first. We're going to take it half a book at a time, and it's important for you to know that we are doing a reread. However, we are not going to spoil anything or give anything away. So, for our first podcast, we are starting from the beginning of Throne of Glass until chapter 24. We did not start with Assassin's Blade. Sorry if that's the camp you're in.
Yeah, and maybe you can drop which order camp you're in because I feel like we go back and forth about this online all the time. And yeah, we did not read it first. So if you did, tell.
Yeah. We go back and forth at reading other people's opinion online. However, I am a firm Throne of Glass person. I don't think you can do it wrong. I just think that the way that I wanted to read it is I had read online that the emotional impact of starting with Throne of Glass was heavier and like more emotional turmoil and like sadder moments when you get to Assassin's Blade. And that's how I wanted to read it. So I'm really happy with my choice. I stand by it.
Yeah. That note, I feel like a Throne of Glass started right away. Like right away, you're thrown into it with Celaena and Gale. And I just loved it. Right away, I was like, oh, thank goodness we're rereading this.
Yes, I think I love the way that we immediately started end of year. She's in prison. You're seeing her coming out of the prison to meet Dorian and Kale and Duke Parrington, who like doesn't really matter at this point. But I love the setup from the get-go because it's all questions immediately. There's no like ramp up. And I feel like a lot of fantasies, there's so much world building that needs to happen that oftentimes I'm not even commenting with my friends because I'm like, hold on, let me get to the meat and potatoes. But we're already in meat and potatoes and I love that.
Yeah, I agree. And getting an inside scoop into like her cleverness right away. She's like, oh, he thinks he's being tricky, leading me around, but I know where we're going. Right away, I'm like, she's badass. I don't care. No notes. I'm in.
Yes, I really liked when we were discussing this before too. You were talking about how, like, normally starting off a story and this person's like in prison for something that there's no part of it where we're like guessing, hey, did she do it? Did she not do it? Like, she's up front. I did the things I'm being accused of. So I am now in prison for that. And even so, we're still like, yeah, but we love you.
Tell me a better character development. Again, just badass female main character. She's an assassin, and I'm also super clever. And also, coming out of prison, she knows she's weak. It's not like all of a sudden she's like, I have this super strength because I've always been an assassin. She's like, no, I have to train. I have to get back into shape. I feel
Yes.
like sometimes with fantasies, they gloss over that and they're like, oh, this super weak main character all of a sudden is super strong or is just like consistently strong and it's less
Hmm.
believable.
Yes. And I think, as to your point, her having been known as this notorious assassin, knowing that she's really skilled, but putting her in a position where it's like, yeah, we know she can do the job, but because of her year in prison, she's being set back. So it's exciting when she gets to that point, or when she's going along that point, that you still know she's capable. It's not like other fantasy stories where you're like, as you said, people are just suddenly badasses. And it's like, how did you get here? That makes no sense. You were frail 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So, as a protagonist, you clearly like her. And I read online that actually some people really found her insufferable.
What?
Yeah. So, it's an interesting point, but
Really?
immediately you loved her. I also have never disliked her through the series. And actually, there are so many good points of her character building where you realize, yes, she's so strong, she's so competitive, and she has this like hard exterior and side to her. But as you get to the castle and she's looking at her body and she's like, oh my God, I'm so skinny. And like, I can't wait to like look better. And when she starts to fill out, she's so excited to see her change and see herself as her again. And then she gets like a little frivolous with her. Oh my God, the dresses and like just the superficial things. So I just found her character so well rounded.
Yeah, I guess I can see it. I think definitely at times she comes across as whiny, but I think if you contextualize, like she's 18 and yeah, she used to be this well-renowned assassin and used to having money and being able to be frivolous with her money. Like, I'm sorry, if I had all that money and a claim to fame at 18, I would probably be a little whiny too.
As you should be, as we all have
Yeah.
the right to be. Also, what's cool about it is that this assassin premise, even though she's the assassin. We know this from the very beginning. That premise almost barely shows up throughout the story in the sense of seeing her as an assassin. Like, we're not seeing her kill in these first 24 chapters of doing anything really. And she's been asked by Kaol and Dorian to play the middle ground. So, we're kind of like jumping forward. But essentially, from end of year, she finds out she has to be the king's assassin, which is like a what's going on situation. Why does a king need one assassin? Has he heard of armies? Like, here's a thought for you.
So how impractical at a time where like traveling is by horse or foot. So you're gonna send your one assassin
Yeah.
across the country. You're gonna see her in 30 days and she may or may not have killed the person you're trying to send her in on. Like
Has
what?
that carrier pigeon come back about the assassination yet? Not quite. Okay. Well, and now, as she's in these trials, Kaol and Dorian are telling her to play the middle, which is so
Mhm.
infuriating to her. And I love how infuriating it is.
I also love that you get to hear her internal dialogue with it and where she was okay to play the middle and where she struggled.
Hmm.
And again, love a competition trope. I am here for it. I find it so fun and like I'm a competitive person. And so
You don't
I
say.
just a little. I actually found myself empathizing with her. Like it would be so hard. Like I think it was the archery competition, right? She's like seeing everyone go ahead of her and she's like, I could best them. I could best them. And then she's
Yeah.
like, I have to not.
Yes, I agree. It's great story writing too, because on the one hand, the archery competition, absolutely, she could have won it, as she kept saying internally. But then you get to the point where she's training and she's training so hard and she's just throwing up on a regular basis. And it's like,
Yeah.
hey, I think I'm really strong and I know I've been super strong, but then also I'm not as strong as I remember, not as strong as I
Yeah.
used to be. And that's a tough pill to swallow.
I do love though through her training, like through kind of keeping this secretive that she's struggling maybe a bit more than she wants to, is you see that her actions are chipping away at Kale's disdain for her. Like he's kind of reflecting and seeing her put in the work and do that without the recognition. And he's got this moral dilemma of like, there's this assassin that I have no respect for, but then her actions I have so much respect for. And how do I combine the two?
Actually think that's probably one of my favorite parts of this book is Hill's internal dialogue and grappling with the decision making of not only like how he views her, but how he treats her. And the moments he's like slipping up and being like nicer is just so heartwarming to see. Which brings me to a really important question. As you're reading these first 24 chapters, are you Team Kale or Team Dorian? And
Oh,
why?
this is such a hard question, especially in a reread.
Yeah.
You know what? I gotta say, Dorian, I liked from a fun, flirtatious relationship vibe. But in terms of like getting to know someone's soul and their connection, I really liked Kale and Celaena's relationship. I felt like it reminds me of found family vibes. They're getting to know each other and it's from a place of like, I don't have to like you. So it feels very genuine.
Yes, I totally agree with both points. That being said, I'm firmly Team Kale Camp. I just feel like with Dorian, things were easy. He was already being silly with her and like accepting of her to an extent from the get go, versus with Kale, you could see when she was chipping away at him. And I loved like those markers of the accomplishments of when he was like in the beginning just being rude and being like, I don't trust you at all. And then later he's like being nicer to her and giving her more opportunities. And I loved seeing that blossom. That was just so much more rewarding for me personally.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, question for you as an
Oh, no.
avid book reader. I'm so curious your thoughts because right away, Selena and Dorian connect on their love of books and he drops them off. And then you kind of see Kale come in and be like, I like books too. And so I'm just so curious your thoughts on that.
Seeing that play out with these two male love interests, I really enjoyed. Again, with Dorian, these things were coming easy. Like we're getting all this accessible information, and not only favorable accessible information. We're learning that he's like a womanizer, and that he's been with several women in the court, and it's like par for the course for him. Versus Kale, you know nothing, so he's like so much more exciting to chip away at. And when he starts to reveal anything about himself, you're like, oh, this is so exciting. Like, tell me more about you. And I think early in the story, too, almost actually right at the beginning, they're talking about her trying to escape end of year and how she's trying to escape because she's trying to almost escape life, right? And
Mhm.
hearing both Dorian and Kale's like responses to that later as the story goes on, like, it chips away, you feel about their reactions and how they're responding to all the little stories she tells. Like she tells Dorian about Sam, and, like that's such a beautiful moment. And you're like, okay, well,
Mhm.
are you really opening up because he's the right person to open up to, or did he catch you in a vulnerable moment with the piano
Mhm.
playing?
Yeah, and I like that you see her retreat from that too, because as a reader, you're questioning it, and then you can tell she's questioning it too. So, again,
Yes.
beautiful, like, character development, storytelling. Love, love, love.
And we've talked about before that a lot of this book is like up to interpretation based on what you like. Like you could easily be Team Dorian, you could easily be Team Kale based on like what your life experiences are. Versus a lot of times in other stories, I feel like the author or even in shows, they have a clear path they want you to go down, but they're dangling someone else there just as an extra option. And there's not as much teams. Like I don't know if you ever
Mm.
watch Vampire Diaries, but I feel like almost everyone is Team Damon, and everyone's just like waiting for her to leave Stefan. So in this one, I'm like, you really could pick who you wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree. There wasn't like a clear forerunner, and it really depends on the reader. And I think a lot of the actions you read about many of the characters taking is left so up to interpretation and viewpoint. And to me, I was like dumbfounded that she wrote this as a teenager because I was like, there's so much depth to that.
100%. The storytelling, the layering, to that effect. Cat Lane is a character that when I originally read it, I was like, oh, can't stand this person. As a character, couldn't stand her. And this time around, rereading her parts, I'm like, it's such a different part of the story to get to her little pieces. The way that she feels about Lady Lillian as she has come to know her, she can't stand her. And the way she's trying to get under Lady Lillian's skin is just such an exciting way to see the story be told from that angle. There's so much going on. Love it for us.
Also, I literally laughed out loud reading Lady Lillian and was like, no one questioned that this was a fake name. Like, we have Caltaine, Kale, Parrington, Celaena. All of these names are not kind of trad wife. And then you have Lady Lillian. Like, are we really surprised?
You know what? Give him a break. She was selling herself so well. It's part of her assassin role. She can be any character. Also, in the character work, this is so comical to me, but the great antagonist of our story is the king. And after meeting him in the beginning, where did he go? We're on chapter 24. I haven't seen him again. He's gone.
Well, maybe because he doesn't have an assassin, he has to go do the things himself. So he just wants to be a homebody.
That's quite powerful on his part if he's also able to do the attacks. I really also love the character of Nehemia. The
Mm,
story of this unfolding is so beautiful to see their friendship flourishing. I'm really excited to see how it goes in the second half. One thing that I find interesting, and again, is that we have this person coming in. Selena knows the language. So there's like this air of, oh, what will this be? And then learning the background knowledge of Nehemia being, a rebel leader and why is
mhm.
she in this castle? There's so much going on. And their relationship is so friendly and so cute and just everything is like all love. And then Selena's like, hey, what are these word marks? And she suddenly gets all cagey. She's like, don't ask me about these questions.
Yeah.
What are you doing? What happened there?
So, that part I will say maybe I was a bit critical of because 'cause I'm like, "Selena, you're this super intelligent, forward-thinking, badass assassin, and this girl who, yes, you're friends with, but you barely know her, all of a sudden shuts you down and you're just taking her at her word." You're like, "Yeah, okay, I'll go back."
Feel like such a great point on your part. Absolutely. She should have been more critical of that moment. But also, and the reason why I like the Nehemia friendship so much is that Selena's talked about how she never had female friendships or it was really hard to have female friendships. And like in the role of an assassin, that makes so much sense. But then watching her let someone in like Nehemia and letting that grow and foster like a positive relationship, maybe she's scared to, criticize her in any way. She's like,
That's true.
right? Then maybe just taking her at her word is okay. Besides, she's so combative with Kale and Dorian, so she needs to save some sweetness for somebody somewhere.
Yeah. Okay, I'll accept that reframe. I could be into it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. As we're talking about the two camps, one of my biggest issues is I'm very concerned that these are the two love interests she has because outside of Nehemia, she's not friends with Catelyn. Like, and she has no one else in the castle. So, what happens now that you're kind of seeing the boys' reaction to this? How are her friendships going to pan out? And that's like
Mhm.
stressful to me because, they, as you said, they are both kind of found family people. And if one of them messes up the relationship, she's not only burning one bridge, she's burning both because they're also, Kale doesn't know it, but Kale is falling in love with her and Dorian is a little bit more aware.
Yeah, I know. And I think that's something I always worry about when there's multiple love interests. And sometimes I'm like, can we just pump the brakes and have them be friends? They all bring so much to their own relationships. And also thinking about like Kale and Dorian's relationship. And, they've known each other since kids to the point where Kale is changing his path in life to be next to Dorian and support him. And then we're gonna let a female come between us? Like, please no, I can't.
Yeah, it's going to be heartbreaking to see this play out. And where we ended off, actually, that they've gone to this ball. Selena suddenly realizes, hey, there's a secret door in my room that no one knows about, which I love in this fantasy realm because it is a castle and that makes sense.
Yes. Also, I love that because she's staying in the old castle, it makes even more sense because you're like, of course, this new castle, this glass portion was just built.
Right.
Probably people have forgotten about these hidden passageways. Whereas sometimes I think when it's just one castle, it's like, how did they just forget there's a secret passage that goes to the ball, to this place, to that place? So that made it more believable to me too.
100%. And as she goes down these tunnels, she sees a couple of pathways. She follows one and she can peer into the ball or the party and sees Kaol, sees Dorian, realizes, hey, some of the other contestants are actually allowed. Why are they allowed? Crazy.
I was more surprised that she didn't put up a bigger fuss right then and there. Knowing her personality, I totally thought she was going to march her butt down, find her way to the ballroom, and demand that she joins. Like, she loves dressing up, she loves being part of the social
Yes.
scene, and she's a badass. So I was a little shocked that she was just okay being the observer and then kind of sneaking back.
Well, I think this ending point for us was full of suspense for me personally because one, absolutely that would be in her personality, but then she'd have to, the two of them was strong enough that she was concerned for him even a smidge. Leading us to the next moment, she goes back to her room and who stumbles into her room to give her this beautiful ring from the party but Kale?
Also, that she accepts this ring and Kale doesn't think Dorian, who probably was partly responsible for giving these gifts to every person at the party, is not going to recognize the ring and be like, who gave this to you? Because it surely wasn't me.
And also, who else is coming to your room? Who else would have had a moment to do this? Wait, probably just Kale. Those are the options. And then for Dorian to walk in right after, wow, we're in a good spot.
Also, like, okay, mentally, with the setup of her rooms, because it's like game room, her room, bathroom, how did they not cross paths? Like, it's not
Yeah.
a quick entry exit that you just slip into the hallway. It's like, no, you walk through her room.
Wait, didn't they cross paths? I thought that they did. Oof. I'm
Gosh.
misremembering. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But either way, the point is it's comical that this is like an overlap in any capacity.
Yes.
So we'll refresh our memory for the next half for sure.
So, on that note, where she's thinking about escape, and the thing that holds her back is thinking about her friendship with Kale and the impact on him specifically. I also really love that point because in the beginning of the book and up until this point, there's so many hints at how selfish assassins are. They only think for themselves, they're like just about the money, etc., etc.
Which is his perception of her.
Yes. And then here is this beautiful moment where again we see Celaena is not your typical assassin. Like she is thinking about other people, and she of all people who just tolerated being in prison would probably have the most reason for being like screw the world, I'm just going to do my own thing, because trusting other people is what landed me in prison in the first place.
100%, which begs this very important question is if she does win this contest, how is she actually going to stomach being the assassin for the man that put her in prison? How will this wrap up?
Wild.
I guess you're going to have to keep reading and listening to us to find out.
Preferably both.
And on that note, we end on the end of chapter 24 of her getting out, but there is an unexplored passageway, and I'm hoping chapter 25 digs into that right away. But now, Alana and I have not discussed Summer House. If you are not a Summer House fan, this is where you leave us. If you are a Summer House fan, turn up the volume. We've literally not discussed anything since the last episode. Alana, your thoughts on the reunion and go.
Thought I'd say this, but I'm totally siding with Lindsay. I watched 3 episodes of the reunion and I am no clearer on what happened.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Heartwarming, heartbreaking, a lot of emotions surrounding other people in the show. But thinking about like Amanda and West and their decision and Sierra and how much of an impact they had on her, nothing.
Okay, it is my biggest pet peeve, and I personally think that Bravo needs to put this in everyone's contracts. But if you are showing up for the reunion, and like, side note, I understand for your mental health, sometimes you need to make choices to protect yourself. That being said, this is their job, it is part of their job. So if they're showing up to the reunion, they should have to watch all the episodes. Like, when you're asking me a question of what did it feel like to watch back those last moments, and Amanda says, I didn't watch the show. Come on. Like,
Yeah.
I get it. I really do understand she's trying to protect her mental health. But at the same time, why are we having a reunion then? And the fact that
Mhm.
they had to film an aftermath episode to me was not, oh, we're giving you bonus content. To me, it's, oh, we realized that nothing came out of the reunion. So we have to film another episode in a different format to give some answers. And even then, it was a little lacking in some answers for me as well. Like, I learned more online than I did going
Yeah,
into the reunion. So that was unfortunate for me.
agreed.
This line killed. Imagine messing up so bad we forgot what a shitty husband Kyle was to you. No notes, Lindsay.
Hey, my thoughts were, is Lindsay the new Andy Cohen? Like, nothing against Andy and more about Lindsay. Like, what? Yes, we all need that friend who's going to be totally blunt and honest with us.
Yes.
And I think in Lindsay's past, her bluntness has gone too far in the direction of, I'm just trying to stir up drama, or I'm trying to blow things up in a space that doesn't make sense. In
Yes.
this setting, I gained so much respect for Lindsay. The fact
Hmm.
that she could neutrally and without judgment say these things and at the same time be so there for Amanda as a friend, I was like, where is this coming from? Like, how much therapy has Lindsay had? Because I am so on her side now.
Please give us the link to your therapist, Lindsay.
Yeah.
We all need them. I have two notes on that. One, the quote itself saying, like, imagine, forget. Post the whole scandal, people were so like supportive of Kyle, who absolutely deserves the support and everyone should empathize the situation he's in. But suddenly Kyle was like a hero. And I'm like, are we just going to forget about the times he's messed up? Because had you not heard about the scandal, Kyle was going to be in the hot seat for this reunion. The way
Mhm.
he spoke to Amanda, the way he reacted, all of that stuff was blowing up. And it's just because she made an error, or like her and Wes made an insane move, that we flipped the script. So frustrating to me to watch these shows and have the public opinion just be so dismissive, or like have the memory of a goldfish to just immediately forget what's happened and just focus what's at hand. That annoyed me. Secondly, for Lindsay's point, she got dragged online for her perspective and the way that she handled that conversation. Did you see flaws?
What?
Yes. She got dragged because people think that she's enabling Amanda's redemption arc and that Bravo is trying to push Amanda or like some kind of a redemption arc, and that Lindsay's on the side of it. So Lindsay actually had to go online and say there was so much of this that was not shown. And at the end of this conversation, she had allegedly said something along the lines of like, if you can't be a better person, like we can't be friends right now. But they didn't air that, which I don't know why people forget. Like they can't they can't air everything. And Lindsay was showing a lot of tough love. That
Yeah.
is her friend. Alana, if you made a mistake that drastic, I would be so angry with you, but I still love you. And that's where
Yes.
Lindsay's coming from. She has to try and repair the situation. But it is interesting to me that everybody's trying to point more of a finger on West and say Amanda was manipulated and Amanda's the victim in this. I don't consider her a victim.
Yeah, I think it's a two-way street, right? They're all friends, and I think they have a shared responsibility to prioritize their friendships over potential romantic relationships in this short time span. If this was 2 years later and they're like, "We've maintained a friendship, we've realized it's more," and Sierra and West are no longer, and Amanda's been able to talk to Sierra about like, "Hey, I think this is going on for me, like, how would you feel about that?" Totally different perspective. But the short turnaround, I think, is what really what really hurt my heart for everyone involved, to be honest.
Short turnaround and also the secrecy because no one
Mhm.
was upfront about it. It was very much kept in the dark, and that was intentional. And that was intentional because both parties knew they were doing something wrong. And that to me was like icing on the cake. With the Amanda too, as she's explaining, like, hey, I just came out of this really long relationship. I've never been single. And I was equating my new sense of self to West. I totally understood where she was coming from. And I really need to make it clear for everybody listening. I know Amanda made a huge mistake, and but I understand where she was coming from. That doesn't negate what she's done. She's so selfish. She went about it completely wrong. And for her to tie those two identities together, but then not think of her actual friend who was there for her, was trying to get her to go out with her, and to ignore that relationship to prioritize how a man's making you feel is, in fact, the problem.
Yeah,
It was too much for me.
agreed.
Overwhelming.
Yeah, and I just respect Lindsay so much because Amanda didn't say that it was a man's support and love.
Yeah,
It's sad. It's heartbreaking, and I think it speaks to the place that Amanda was in, that she wasn't able to be aware of her own actions in the moment. Totally agree with you. I'm not agreeing with her actions.
yeah. We
I'm
are
not
firmly
saying
Team
they're
Sierra.
okay. Yeah. And again, if we are so black and white that we're never gonna ask people to do better, we're just gonna cut them off or just kind of bully them into being quiet, we're never, like, giving our friends the benefit of the doubt for their own development too. And, like,
Right.
if you open the door and they choose not to act differently, they choose like perfect example, Sierra and West. Sierra opens the door for West to own his actions, for them to rekindle their friendship, to start anew, and he fucks her over.
A
And
hundred percent.
that is not on Sierra at all. And I would have lost respect for her if she had to close that door and not kind of challenged him to do better.
Right, absolutely. Right before she threw dirt over him and never thinks of him again. What a line in the reunion. I was like, "Did you come up with that just
Oh,
now, or have you thought about that and, like, written it down somewhere?" Either way, gold. I agree with everything that you're saying, and just to add to that as well, I think there's this constant threat of cancel culture, and this day and age in reality TV as well. So many people are so quick to cancel these people based on things that they're doing right now, things that they did in high school. I was like, well, do you not believe people can grow? Absolutely. Cancel
yeah.
West right now because the way that he was acting at the reunion and on Kyle's couch, he's just so good at making people believe he's so sorry. And even in like the back room commentary to Amanda, he's like, if you need to cry, like you can cry on camera.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're coaching her. It's giving a little Tom Sandoval, which like important question for me. Who's worse, Wes Wilson or
Ah!
Tom Sandoval?
You know what? I think Tom's crash and burn was bigger.
Yeah.
Wes is chronic crash and burn.
Yeah.
So I find it hard to actually make a true comparison. I gotta say West after watching the most recent things. I think yeah, there was a huge blow up with Tom. He's slimy. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
And West is trickling along, like doing all these shady things to his whole friend group. Like it's not just a couple people, it's his guy friends, his girlfriends, his previous relationships. Like it seems like every interaction he has is being manipulated in some way.
Hardcore agree. I wouldn't be able to pick between who was worse, Tom or West, but I think West is more dangerous. The fact that he knew the mental health of both these girls that he's dealing with, he knows what he's done to Sierra in the past. He knows the impact it's going to have on her. And he, even as filming, he said out loud, like things like, I'm not ready to be a boyfriend. You know, you should be saying that to Sierra. Why are you saying that to Ben and then kissing her? Like, I get that you're getting swept up in moments, but you need to be like forthcoming. And Amanda is this woman who just got out of a marriage. Why are you going for her?
Mhm.
Unreal. He is so dangerous.
Agreed.
And his
Yeah.
communication style, he's so good. He knows like how to act like he's remorseful. I've lied to everybody here on the couch. I'm not denying that. Like he just knows the right things to say. And even Lindsay called him out on it. She said,
Yeah.
I'm falling for this.
Yeah. I think he's too quick to apologize, and I think that's what kinda flags me is, like, someone who is doing these things and isn't realizing their actions are having the effect they have, take a lot longer to settle with, "Oh, crap, I do need to apologize." Right
Right.
away. He's, like, saying this perfectly worded apology. Like, it's like he's got the formula down and is saying
Yes.
it, right?
Yeah, and you can't trust someone who's apologizing for something they're to keep on like consistently doing. The fact that you didn't realize the reach of your issue to not like I don't think he had messaged KJ, which is insane because KJ already he knew KJ was going through some mental health issues and was really close to Sierra. Like there are so many connections there.
Mhm.
Ugh, that's it's so frustrating. Then we get to West and Kyle and their conversation on their couch. And
Talk about
ugh,
snooze fest.
oh my god, but the dog knowing West really well? Losing my mind. And Kyle asking, "Hey, have you been here before?" West being like, "No, absolutely not.
But
I
I
don't
know the dog
know."
really well.
Yeah. How does this dog know you so well? I don't understand. Someone online said, oh, that Kyle and West can't be real friends if West has never been to Kyle's apartment. And Kyle commented saying, no one, none of my friends have been to my apartment because it's been so messy for all these years. Okay, so
I
you thought it was boring.
Yeah, I was disappointed, I think, and maybe this is just Kyle's personality standing out a little bit more, but he's kind of like a wet noodle. Like, if this is really your friend and they're now with your ex-wife, not even ex-wife, and has been lying, and it's just been laid out that he's also with two other people, and you say you have love for Amanda and you're worried that he's gonna screw him over. Where is the energy? More passion, more energy. Come on.
Where you're coming from wholeheartedly. And also, he's been sleuthing it in the background. He got a hold of Miha and like connected Miha and Sierra. I think my most interesting takeaway from their conversation was that West thought none of it was going to make it. He's like, they're filming, but they're not going to put this on because he said that, my time on TV is done. Like he already knew he was on his way out the door. But allegedly, he was trying to get Kyle, Carl, and Lindsay fired for the upcoming season. He wanted it to be him and Amanda and all his friends. So he wanted the show to be recentered around the two of them.
Do you
Yeah.
think because there was a comment made, I can't remember who, and it was at the reunion, maybe probably Lindsay because she stole the show, but and it was to the tune of that, like West is moving in ways to keep him relevant and just to increase his fame, increase his clout online in shows. I could
Yeah,
see it.
I agree with that point in the sense of the way he's been moving and attaching himself to people. Like, I think the way he treated Sierra in his first season and latching onto her and riding that fame out was really interesting because even in that space, he was seeing people outside of the house. And I feel like the way that he responded to Miha and saying, like, oh, I'm not allowed to date outside of Bravo is him like maxing his appearance on Bravo, is being the best Bravo guy and then having his life on the side.
Although, like, Bravo's cashing in on this, so maybe it's
Yeah.
working for them.
Well, I think I think that's why there's this redemption arc even talked about with Amanda, because now that they have this whole new franchise within the city, is are we losing a bunch of fans if we don't have Amanda? Because not only do we lose Amanda from that, but we're losing tangentially Sierra. She's
Mhm.
not necessarily coming on the show to hang out with Kyle or maybe
Mhm.
Lindsay. But outside of that, I don't think her and Danielle are close. So now we have these extra people that aren't going to be getting the same viewership as the Summer House friends, until we get to know them.
Yeah, it's true. It'll be interesting to see what direction they take with it for sure.
Yes.
Can I share my maybe contradicting opinion?
Ooh, okay, tell me.
And I want to preface this by saying I am Team Sierra. I think it's absolute trash and totally unacceptable how she was treated by Amanda. And in the reunion, I actually didn't love how she was like, yeah, yelling at Amanda, cutting her off. Like, I think that there were times where I wish Mia would have tried to support her to, like, hey, take a breath
Mm,
because obviously it's emotional, you're upset. And at one point, it felt like anytime Amanda did try and talk, Sierra escalated and cut her off. And I was like, no, like, you're above that.
Fully respect where you're coming from, but I put myself in her position and thinking about not only did this happen once again from the same person that wronged you already, but now one of your closest friends who you've been checking on, you've been doing absolutely everything in your power to lift her up and get her off the floor for years. And you're at a point where you're saying, hey, if you want to leave, I'll call and get the moving truck. I'll get everything you need. Is doing this to you and then shows up and has zero remorse. She could have gone off. She still, to me, displays so much decorum. I don't personally feel like she yelled. I do feel like she raised her voice, but even that, like, I don't feel like
We're
she was like,
splitting hairs here.
I no, I really feel like there is a difference because she wasn't like it wasn't coming in from like any kind of like aggressive behavior or anything. It was just like, please, how are you still talking or how are you still not owning up to it? That was like the frustration in her voice. I don't think she was like yelling or anything. And I also want to say to any audience members that are listening, I know a lot of people are talking about how Amanda used the word yelling. And because Amanda used the word yelling, people are calling it a microaggression against Sierra and it's
Mm,
very problematic to use. I do feel like she raised her voice, but she wasn't doing so in a aggressive or like bad way. I can just understand all the pent up sadness she feels towards Amanda
mhm,
and it coming out and her bubbling over and her voice just getting louder. But at no point where did I feel like she was putting her down. Like, especially when Amanda is like rolling her eyes in response, like she swears at Sierra. I was in the same position as Amanda. I would come in cool, like
yeah.
with my tail between my legs. I'm not saying anything like screw you to Sierra. This is
Mhm.
all on you now. Don't point the finger at anybody else.
100%. And I think, like, it's telling because her and West started to have differing recountings,
Oh yeah.
and then they kinda stopped each other and were like, "Hey," and he's like, "Just tell the truth. This is making us look worse." I joke, like, we're splitting hairs. Is she raising her voice and yelling? I think for me, the difference is when you talk over someone
Hmm.
and you can see Amanda is just starting to talk and she gets talked over. And I'm like, well, you're not going to get anywhere. So it's not that I don't think it was like, it totally made sense coming from a place of hurt and emotion and probably what was 3 hours already of filming and listening to Amanda not
100%.
talk and not open
Yes.
up to it. I think it's just like, then when she does try, even if it's lies coming out of her mouth, we're gonna cut her off, she's gonna shut down, we're not gonna get anywhere, which is essentially what happened.
When she was talking to Lindsay. So when I get yelled at, I disassociate and like someone give me B-roll of all the times that Kyle actually was yelling at Amanda. She's like, Kyle, and berates him for whatever else he's been doing. So no, you don't always disassociate. I also
No.
think she might have been on some kind of medication at the reunion because both her and West were expressing no emotion. It was so hard to watch. Do you feel like he crossed the line before?
This is exactly why I think agree with your earlier point. Amanda needed to watch the show back because
Yes.
she's missing on seeing other people's perspectives in situations that either she was a part of and you only see your own perspective when you're in a situation. Totally
Hmm.
fair. Or she wasn't a part of it and it was side conversations that she missed. So she's going to ostrich, in Lindsay's words, and put her head in the sand and not watch any of this. not even be open to those other things that are coming up or the differing perspectives, I think yeah, she's going to be made to look a fool because who knows what the truth is. I think they're both shady as fuck. People brought up like emotional cheating versus physical cheating and totally agree. Like, do I know the timeline? No, I don't think anyone's going to know for sure what happened except for Amanda and West. But
Mhm.
absolutely those like emotion connections and feelings were
At
happening.
play earlier. They were
Yeah.
definitely at play earlier. They can deny that all they want, but we watch it on screens. We know what's happening. There was inappropriate touching that was very like emotionally charged. It was a lot. Also with Kyle, as we see Kyle's concern, this was again, I'm also team Kyle in this particular case. I've had a lot of gripe with Kyle for previous seasons. I do feel for him in this situation, but I thought it was really interesting and people are giving him so much credit for this that he cares so much about Amanda and he wants her so badly to not be in this situation because he's fearful that Wes is going to hurt her. And I think it's really interesting because it's like, oh, Kyle, it's a problem that Wes could hurt her. What about all the times you hurt her? You never seemed to care when it was you who was hurting her and she was telling you you are hurting me. But now that it's anybody else, he's like, I like the fact that when they hugged on the reunion stage, I was like, oh my God, please. I don't want to watch this. It was so hard to watch. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was overwhelming.
To that point, again, like I think unless you're having those hard conversations with people, you don't see other people's perspectives. And so I think
Yes.
like now that Kyle's seeing it as an outsider, he is seeing, wow, like Wes could really hurt Amanda. And both he and Amanda said this, like they weren't talking to each other. The only time they were talking about these problems was on film. And I'm like,
Right. So
there is no way that you're gonna see each other's perspectives if the only time you're communicating is what we as viewers have seen.
100%. Moving on to Sierra and Mia's portion of the conversation. We are watching their conversation is the first time I'm learning something super new is that not only is Mia dating Wes, she's actually staying at his house while they're at the summer house. And he's like, just stay here. So you're here when I get back. And all this is happening and you don't know about it? That's crazy to me. And while she's there, she's putting together his furniture.
And how does that not come up while he's at the summer house with anyone? Like I know Jesse had that off comment and they played it back in that bonus episode or whatever.
But they played it back, and Jesse and Wes' response is, "I'm sure she's good," as if to pretend like I don't know.
Yeah,
She might be at your house right now, or you would have seen her in the last couple of weekends.
that's what I mean though. West is slimy in that like this person is literally at your house this weekend. If I have someone staying at my house and I go away for the weekend, it's going to come up in conversation. Like,
Yeah. Hey, I'm just checking on my friend.
yeah. You mean to tell me you never once brought it up? Like, that wouldn't happen.
100%. And as you said, he's so intentional with his words. Mika talks about how she invited him up to her parents' house for Christmas, and he says I can't remember if it was actually Christmas. Fact check me. But he says, we're not at that place in our relationship, not like I don't want to date you. So the discrepancy is putting the onus on her to be like, oh, we are in a relationship. We're just not at the stage of meeting parents. I'm not comfy to do that yet. So those like small word choices are really making a difference in how he's presenting the relationship. Scapegoat is language is everything.
Ugh.
Wild.
You know what he reminds me of?
Oh,
You know how Faye in most fantasies can't lie. And so they often have these like vague but like distinct enough answers that you don't question it. But then after thinking about it, you're like, wait a minute, you didn't actually say for certain. And I filled in the gaps. So am I lying to myself? Like,
yeah, exactly. What did you think about the conversation between Sarah and Miha? Like, how did you feel about that dynamic together?
yeah, I have so much respect for Sierra because I think she could have gone in as like a scorned woman and been like, you're part of the problem. You knew he was hanging out with us. You could have messaged me on Insta, like, you know. And instead, she went like, let me hear your perspective and let's talk about and she's so vulnerable, and then brings in humor and is just like, "Yeah, well, guess it's you and I now."
I loved when she apologized to Miha for having to see her and him and Sierra kiss. To think, like, she's finding out about this other woman that was there this whole time, and her thought process is, I'm sorry that you had to watch this back. We're at the beginning of exploring things again. You are like a full girlfriend in your mind, and she's apologizing to the other person, which was so beautiful. People are asking for Miha to be on the show.
Know that I would be so thrilled about that, to be honest, and I've seen a 20-minute clip of her and a FaceTime of her, like, I don't know.
Feel like it navigates away from the show I want to introduce Miha, because now you're introducing people for the sake of drama, not the original. We're here to have a good time. We are actually our friends. We form friendships, and the drama that ensues is more organic, more or less. This is intentionally trying to stir the pot. So I don't know that I'm into it, but we'll see if it actually pans out.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what hooked me on Summer House from the beginning was it's relatable as someone in a similar age demographic that you're getting together with your friends on a weekend and throwing dope themed parties, I might add, which again, I love a theme. Sign
Yes.
me up. I'll go all out on the outfits as well. And having fun and then also dealing with the blowback of like, "Oh my gosh, let's talk about last night. Where are we at?" Like, I love that.
Yeah, agreed. I wholeheartedly agree, and it's sad to see what this situation is going to do to the group and how it's going to shake out the dynamics. In Sierra and Miha's conversation, I also feel like Sierra kind of maybe reassessed how she feels about Miha in this situation too, because finding out that Miha had been on these 6-hour phone calls with West and was still in constant communication with West, knowing that Amanda's also in the situation, maybe might have made Sierra feel a certain way, which I would fully empathize with her. It did. That being said, Miha is being dragged post this episode as well online because people are really upset with her for having this 6-hour conversation. And I just want to say to everybody, we've all been in this position where we entertain someone who has hurt us, and she's learning about this in such a different way than everybody else. She doesn't have the same fan base that's going in and digging into footage and finding out things. She's probably finding out things from the only person she can, the source, about her dynamic with him. And she also didn't sign up to be on the show. She didn't sign up to be dragged, and she doesn't know how to behave in these situations. This is brand new to her. This is her first episode, if you will. So cut her some slack, the poor girl.
Yeah, and we know West's behavior. Like, there's probably a reason it was 6 hours because she's trying to get him to describe what happened, to own up to things, to come to the bottom of it, and
She's
he
having a reunion, okay?
yeah, and he is probably leading her on this little roadmap, and again, she's
No
hurt.
answers.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm so proud of Sierra for rising above so much of this. And I'm so happy for her success. And I hope she keeps succeeding. And I hope she finds a person who loves her for her, because she's incredible. She has incredible friends in Mia and KJ and the rest of the cast. But my
Mhm.
final note is to Amanda. I just wish she could be accountable. I wish she could step back in the situation and realize she messed up, because even if she doesn't realize it now, losing someone as amazing as Sierra as a friend is awful. And all the people connected to that, even if they decide all to be friends with her again, it's never going to look the same. And if she had come into that reunion with any ounce of remorse, that would have turned, maybe could have been salvageable. It's not anymore, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think for this group of friends, it's likely not salvageable. And for her as a person, she is in a huge change point in her life, right? It's a fork in the road. And I agree. I hope she takes the time to reflect on how this went down, where she could do better, and then actually make those changes and form real friendships with other people in the world. And who knows what happens in the future, but that's hopeful.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for joining us. Reality TV is supposed to be fun, and that was not fun. Next time, we're going to be looking at Love Island and the second half of Throne of Glass. But thank you for joining us, and we hope you hear back from us soon. Thank you. Bye.